Twitter was crying about my 007 video. Based. Good. Jocko Willink face. Please. Ew, your neck is so short. Mega Rock and Rolla, thanks for $5. Watch a response to Josh Pieters' documentary on George Gilbert by American Krogan. Okay. But there's no point in intellectually deconstructing the left anymore. Mega Rock and Rolla, thanks for $5. Watch a response to Josh Pieters' documentary on George Gilbert by American Krogan. Okay. Response to Josh Pieters. I'll probably just write this. I'm sure American Krogan will probably come out. Yeah.
American Krogan presents Lessons in Deconstructionism and Pseudo-Intellectual Moral Factory. Recently, a South African YouTuber, Josh Pieters, released a documentary exploring the personality of George Gilbert, a young Englishman who was kicked off the British reality TV show Big Brother for supposedly making anti-Semitic remarks. The documentary doesn't reveal what the remarks were, but George explains them on Andrew Gold's YouTube channel.
Nobody ever is wholly good or evil. I think people who are evil are probably misguided. People who are good, yin-yang and all that, they've got some bad in their personality. Who's the most evil person ever to exist? If you ask Joe Public, who's the most evil person? Most people would say. And there's a case for that. But I said, he probably wasn't sitting there funding the host and going, oh, I'm so evil. He was probably going, this needs to be done. I'm a good guy. And Jews are at the trouble of Germany's ills. Yeah. They're the root cause of all this. Yeah. And now we know that's wrong.
Now, whatever you think of these comments can hardly be taken as anti-Semitic. Although, technically, George does take things a bit further later on.
Some of the finest minds in human history, from Cicero to Shakespeare, Voltaire to Henry Ford to Roald Dahl, all of those guys had anti-Semitic tropes in their writings.
Yes.
Now
Here we go. Let a chud talk too long. He's going to start digging a hole. This is why they can't ever let me on anything like this.
Some of the most intellectual people of all time. They don't write about Shylock in The Merchant of Venice for a laugh. They got their head screwed on, and they must have thought what they think for a reason, like them or hate them, right or wrong. And anti-Semitism has been around for millennia now, centuries upon centuries. Now, all I said was, so it does make me think, is it a case of no smoke without fire?
Now,
yeah, I know. Noticing patterns, how anti-Semitic.
to give credit where it's due, Andrew, despite being Jewish himself, did recognize here the nuance of George's statements, and it's pretty obvious within the broader context of the interview that George has rather favorable views toward the Jews.
I think it's terrible how the Jewish community, even in London, a lot of Jews are fleeing London because they don't feel safe. There's a lot of reasons to love Jews.
Yeah, I wonder why they don't feel safe. Do you think they maybe advocated for millions of immigrants who want to kill Jews? But it's totally fine if those people mingle with the natives. But of course, the Jews, they've destroyed this European country. Time to leave. Yeah, nothing wrong with it.
I think they're great with integrating. They contribute to society more than many other communities.
Now, to be clear, I don't share George's views here, at least not on this particular subject matter, and the work I've done over the years should make that readily apparent. I'm also very critical of Andrew Gold's stated attitudes toward English identity, which are largely just as deconstructionist as the quote-unquote woke people he often critiques.
Of English ethnicity then, how do we boil that down? What do you do with kind of Saxons, Anglo-Saxons, Celts, all of those kinds of things?
So this is an argument that leftists would always, and civic nationalists.
But Andrew is not a shock jock or a sensationalist. Pieters, on the other hand, took a soundbite of what Gilbert said on Gold's program and made it appear a lot more offensive than it really was.
What George was actually referring to was his abrupt removal from the house, followed by Big Brother cutting ties with him entirely and choosing not to release the footage of the incident. With no official explanation, George was left to fill in the gaps. giving his version of events across a circuit of podcasts and news outlets that were more than happy to have him.
And I said, some of the finest minds in human history, from Cicero to Shakespeare, all of those guys had anti-Semitic tropes in their writings. Fact. Now, they're some of the most intellectual people of all time. So it does make me think, is it a case of no smoke without fire? That's...
Maybe it should be noted here that
The thing is, though, I mean, even with the context, if you're already connecting those dots in the first place, you would have to be intellectually dishonest to yourself to think that there's no, there's no truth to all of the anti-Semitic writings of the past. Like, how could you? I don't know. You get where I'm going with this, right? There's no way all these people across all these different nations, ethnicities, et cetera, came to the same conclusion about these people. They get exiled time and time and time again across history. It was never their fault, though. They didn't do nothing.
Pieters gained internet fame by pulling pranks on various people. Of particular note is when he invited Kate Hopkins to a fake award ceremony. But the now reformed and very serious documentarian wanted to know more about George Gilbert, the edgy sensationalist Englishman who had been making the rounds on right-wing podcasts after being canceled by mainstream outlets. So he traveled to George's hometown of Finchingfield, where George gave him a tour of the lovely picturesque village. Sadly, but unsurprisingly, George has had trouble holding down a job ever since being canceled. His former employer at a cleaning service fired him, and he was even removed from his position as a local parish councilor. Now, he works as a delivery driver. Josh, of course, takes on the role of a compassionate and impartial bystander just trying to understand a troubled young man who, he posits, was perhaps misled by the manosphere. The documentary really tries to focus on associating George's...
See, this shit doesn't make any sense, though, because the manosphere isn't really anti-Semitic either. Like, I know these fans would want you to believe that, but they're also the people who are pro-Palestine, anti-Israel, so, try and make that make sense. I don't know, lefties, again, they don't. You have to be mentally ill to be a leftist in this current age. Yes, you hate Israel, but you love Jews. Yep, that definitely makes sense to anyone who knows anything about anything.
Behavior with the rising popularity of performative online antics that are often antisocial for the sake of clicks. Now, I actually agree with Josh that this emergent culture is a problem, but not only has he been a major player in it, but he also seems to want to attribute the rise of nationalistic sentiments and identity politics to antisocial antics of the likes of Andrew Tate and Sneeko.
Some people disagree with that.
If you come to a country, speak the language of the country.
They don't even talk the English language. They don't bother with that. Why should they?
You come to America, speak English, assimilate.
The least you could do is respect this country by trying to integrate.
This can create something of an echo chamber of masculine ideals that simultaneously connects.
I love leftists talking about echo chamber. That's another shit that gets me every fucking time. It's like, where do you think... Here's the difference between left-wing and right-wing echo chambers. Left-wing echo chambers are because they ban any right-wing voices. Right-wing echo chambers are because they've been banned from everywhere else. Wow, there might be a huge fucking difference between those two things, don't you think? It's so pathetic. God damn, is it pathetic. I'm tired of this shit. This is why I don't engage in, like, hate watching a lot of stuff anymore. I'd rather just listen to slop gaming videos, because at least I don't have to hear the same retarded shit I've already heard for the past 12 years.
Men and isolates them.
I learned something about women. They have no interest in world conquest. They want to be comfortable.
It's not that women are being cheated of those opportunities, it's just that women don't fancy doing them as much.
But they're too busy arguing with their wife to do anything about it.
It's just like a bit of a hindrance.
Distraction is all garbage.
Now, in my humble opinion, it's probably more accurate to attribute the rise of these grotesque behaviors to a breakdown in national identity, cohesion, and social trust. In other words, he's got it backwards. In a healthy society, none of these figures would be tolerated. George stated...
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. You can't really blame Zoomers for wanting to get what they want out of this world. I mean, there's not going to be... Like, tribalism in the traditional sense barely exists anymore because there's no communities, right? Like, leftist tribalism is just a fucking witch hunt for... It's the purity spiral. right? Who is the most woke, the most politically correct, whatever, right? And the right-wing ones, a lot of that kind of stuff, at least in the Gen Z stuff, is a lot of them just kind of backstabbing each other for whoever can secure a basically. That's what I've seen. Like, a lot of these people, supposedly friends, like men used to have the reputation that you'd have real friends, and women were the ones who backstabbed each other. But I've seen a lot of young men do the woman thing of backstabbing their supposed friends in the pursuit of foids. Because, I mean, male loneliness has gotten bad enough that people are that desperate to get a woman. So, yeah, it's not good.
It's that he loves his hometown and its aesthetics. He thinks it's the best of Britain, but admits it's no longer the most accurate representation of it. That if you go to the average high street, it has Turkish barber shops and too many takeaways.
If I'm going to show someone from abroad what life is like in Britain, I'd love to take them here. I think this is the best of Britain. I wouldn't say it's an accurate representation of current Britain. If you go to the average high street, it doesn't look like this, does it? It looks like a Turkish barber's and too many takeaways and about 11 charity shops.
What exactly does this have to do with Andrew Tate or Sneeko? Perhaps Josh can clip a soundbite of Sneeko saying things like immigrants should assimilate, but Sneeko also thinks that everyone should convert to Islam.
If everybody was Muslim the way it should be, we'd have world peace, but people have their ego.
I don't think it's ego, dude. I don't think ego is the reason that everyone's not Muslim.
They're attached to tribalism, to their race, to nation. They're patriotic. They have stupid reasons to hold them.
Both he and Andrew Tate are also rather rootless and cosmopolitan. They're certainly not raising goats in rural England.
You love this place.
Yeah, well, the goats, you see them come and go, because obviously they die. Yeah, circle of life. So yeah, I've seen a few generations of goats, but that's a sanctuary.
Josh does a ride-along with George on his delivery job and dedicates a substantial segment of the documentary to a back-and-forth conversation with George about his celibacy, his losses, and potential depression. He tries to appear compassionate, but it seemed clear that his aim was to accentuate the consequences of George's alleged misbehavior and patriotism.
I felt like I had everything. I was a parish councillor, the YouTube was going well, and in about 10 days on Big Brother, I fucked it up. I'd lost it all. And yeah, you just feel futile. Like, what's the point? All I've got is a blooming delivery driver job. I'm not even earning minimum wage.
His antics become fairly obvious at certain points. For example, earlier in the documentary, Josh noticed a bottle of hand lotion on George's bedside stand and has the camera focus on it before he places it behind a picture out of sight. This was extremely distasteful to do to a man who had invited him into his home and was, for all intents and purposes, being sincere and honest with him. The irony, of course, is that Josh had accused George of being provocative for the sake of attention.
It seems like sometimes you ask questions more to be provocative.
What the hell is even wrong with being provocative in the first place? That's again more this fucking. Is that even female behavior though? That's just being pathetic. Because women are provocative all the time, just in a different way. I don't even know what to call that, but it is absolutely pathetic. What? Oh boy, you might have offended someone by asking questions. What are the crimes, officer? I mean, this is, I get that documentary slop garbage like this is just meant to be, you know, women are bored. They've already watched all their dog shit shows, so they got to watch something else. And this came up on the front page of their Amazon Fire Stick. But, like, this is fucking, I don't know, this shit's so fucking stupid. People just consume this garbage and just don't even think about it for a millisecond.
Call it being facetious.
Again, Josh himself had built an entire brand off provocation, and in this instance, despite trying to remarket himself as a thoughtful documentarian, he was being juvenile with this little antic, especially in the broader context of George's overall presentation. George is a very well-dressed and kept man. His room is highly presentable and orderly, and he's articulate.
Yeah, I mean, that looks way... This is what I'm saying. This is always the problem with these retarded lefty documentaries sometimes, is they really pick the worst fucking people. But the thing is, when the target audience is a bunch of bitches who will just believe anything you say because, I don't know, I guess in a woman's mind, maybe documentary filmer is an authority figure. Can I see your documentary license? I mean, like, I don't know. I don't get why you would even listen to this garbage. But regardless, look at this. This looks way better than my room. My shit's not organized like this. If it was my room, there'd be like a coat of fucking mold dust on half my shit. Those empty water bottles. You know, there's just, you know, a bunch of crap. There's so much crap everywhere. Like, I would obviously clean it up if I knew I was going to be... you know, if there was a documentary to be filmed, but still, I mean, you look at this shit, this dude's taking care of stuff.
Articulate and thoughtful. He's clearly not some disheveled porn addict. In fact, what stood out to me was just how resilient and perseverant George is. Despite all his setbacks, despite all his obstacles, he refuses to even accept the idea that he's depressed.
We didn't build an empire through feeling sorry for ourselves, sitting in bed all day. It goes against what we should be as men.
Josh once again tries to make a connection between George's sentiments here and the likes of Andrew Tate.
A lot of what George had said to me throughout this documentary was eerily familiar.
Real men cry, and if women can cry, men can cry too. There's nothing wrong with it. And there absolutely is something.
See, this is how easy it is to manipulate women, though. Like, listen, I hate to talk about my mom like this, but this would work so easy on my mom if you just showed any Trump quote. Like, literally show anything Trump has ever said. It doesn't even have to... If Trump was talking about taking a piss and it was played over this part of the documentary, my mom would be like, yeah, I hate this guy. He's like Trump. It's like, Jesus Christ. This is why I say shit like repeal the 19th, because you clearly... I don't know. Like, I know it's a broken record to say women just think with their emotions constantly, not with logic, but that level of emotional manipulation is like a toddler. You know, oh, I just flashed Trump on the screen. Oh, you hate this guy now. Wow. Wow, that's easy.
The hallmark of a real man is controlling himself, controlling his emotions, and acting appropriately.
I share Josh's sentiment that the manosphere can be a rather bizarre and unhealthy place.
You actually took a hammer to your face to shape your jawbone.
But it probably only exists because feminism and other post-war liberal doctrines have eroded an otherwise stable and functional societal paradigm. Basic male and female dispositions have remained and are in conflict.
Yeah, I mean, like, this podcast is such a good example. I would never watch this shit, but I've seen so many clips through other channels of the whatever podcast. And it's like, women, you want women to look bad? You don't have to listen to a fucking incel. Just watch clips of women talking. Unless you are the biggest, most pathetic fucking simp on the planet, which again, Redditors are. It's a whole hive of them. Women make themselves look bad every fucking day. And you can't say it's anecdotes when there's like, it's the fuck... It's the size of like Mount Everest worth of evidence how modern women are, right? Like, it's just, you cannot ignore when it's thousands and thousands of video examples. Like, seriously, you just look at the shit on TikTok, you listen to this podcast, shit like this. Women will just be horrible confidently, horrifyingly terrible. It's just, it's unbelievable. It's actually unbelievable.
With the new asserted values. The end result is a void full of antisocial characters.
I'd like to say to thousands of women listeners who imagine that they're enjoying life at the kitchen sink.
Women unite. You have nothing to lose but your kitchen sink.
So are you suggesting that marriage is out of the picture?
Well, what do you gain?
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Unfortunately, people have to be realistic about that one. Yeah.
Listening to George Voice's attitudes about women, he doesn't exactly sound like someone regurgitating Andrew Tate talking points. He sounds like he wants what most English men and women wanted 80 years ago.
What does the right woman look like for George Gilbert?
Someone who's well-read, well-educated, speaks well, dresses well, polite.
Josh explains in the documentary at one point that he's half Jewish, so perhaps it's not surprising that he took issue with the fact that George had books about Hitler on his shelf. George explained, however, that he also had books about other historical figures, and that his aim was to learn about history and why certain things happened.
But you do seem quite
I mean, yeah, it's just suddenly, whoa, I can't believe. Dude, who would believe that, dude? That's crazy. What a coincidence.
I'm talking about it.
Yeah, but I've also got a Karl Marx book. I've also got an Alex Ferguson book, an Elton John book. Why aren't we talking about that? Because you've chosen to, because it looks good, and it'll make this go viral. Because you'll clip this and go, who's got who books? I told you he's an anti-Semite. I'm not having a go at you, but this is what people do. It makes for good content. So yes, people are going to look at this and go, oh, I'm so concerned. He is an anti-Semite. He is an... No.
This is, again, somewhat ironic because the big thesis of Josh's documentary is that George was probably a sensationalist who said outrageous things for attention.
Made in the UK.
Is that even a crime? Like, if you said that about my channel, even though I do sincerely believe all my opinions about video games, I'd be like, so what? I mean, legitimately, like the so what meme. Oh, wow, he's a sensationalist. He says outrageous shit. Yeah, it's called being an entertainer, you retard. Like, what? Oh, wow. Wow.
It seems that for those looking to get into the limelight, a shortcut has emerged. Outrage.
1,000 men in 24 hours.
What a fucking observation. The left would never be an outrage merchant, though. That would never happen. That's never happened. The left has never, ever stoked outrage for money, ever. It's never happened. It's never happened. No, of course not.
Xanax, benzos.
Kids loved Hitler. What's even more remarkable, though, is that Josh expresses in the same scene confusion as to why George wouldn't have had the forethought to remove those books from his room before allowing the film crew in.
If I were you, and I had a film crew coming to my house today, I would probably have moved those books.
Yeah, well, you wanted an authentic take of my life, and these are topics I'm interested in.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm not going to hide things. This is who I am.
I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, if any man, like an actual man, was watching this just makes the dude look good, even if it's supposed to be a hit piece. Now, I realize the irony that obviously American Krogan himself is cutting certain clips to show to us. I'm sure the cuts in the documentary make him look worse, but just the stuff that he's shown to us makes the dude look good, not bad. You know what I'm saying? So it reminds me, there was like a documentary not that long ago that I watched Sargon talk about. I can't remember what it was, but it was basically an anti-incel documentary. And there's a part of the documentary, and it was also British, by the way. Interesting. I don't know. It's whatever. I'll save the edgy spiel for a second. But the documentary, there's a part of it where they ask a researcher how many, murders were committed by like confirmed incels worldwide, and the guy said 7, and the dude's like 7 this month, 7 just in the UK, 7. No, the guy's like 7. Yeah, it was 7. And they left it in. That's what's crazy. It's like, who would keep watching this after that? You retarded ass bitches, again, have been convinced that it's the inkwells are the modern dangerous society, not like Muslim gangs, violent crimer types, none of that. No, the white male sitting at his computer writing slurs, that is the guy who's a danger to society. And then the reality is 7 kills. Because these dumb fucks, like, I don't want this to turn to me. Talk about my mom. My mom watched Adolescence. She actually didn't even watch the whole thing because even she's like, all right, this is stupid and bullshit. She'll only watch, I think it's in 4 parts, right? So I think she watched only the first 3. And it's just like, I saw her watching it when it came out. And I'm like, Mom, you realize this doesn't happen. And the original story this is based off of, it was a black guy who did it, a black kid who did it. And they made it like a white 12-year-old boy in the show, when in reality it was like, I don't remember how old he was, like 17 or 18, the black kid who killed the woman. But in any case, Netflix is like, yeah, actually it was like a white 12-year-old boy. Even though I know officially it's not based on a true story. So then it's literally political propaganda that you can just casually, I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to get into this huge rabbit hole of what should or shouldn't be legal, but in a healthy society, the people who created that would be hunted down and killed for treason, for, you know, for stoking racism against, you know, like all the things. If people actually cared about racism, then the people who made adolescents would be publicly, like, period. I'm serious. Like, what you can call a Fed post or whatever. Seriously, if anyone actually cared about racism, like what racism means, the people who made adolescents would be publicly, like, it's just that simple. It's just that simple.
But if anything, this was a remarkable showcase of just how much more character and backbone George has than the average person. He's not being provocative, he's being principled and courageous. In another scene, Josh accuses George of not learning from his mistakes.
I don't see it as a bad thing. If someone said, oh...
But you don't have to see it as a bad thing. You understand that that can be perceived as offensive by people, and you've just said it on camera to an audience of people, and so it's almost like you don't learn.
At another...
Obviously, the proper response there is, who cares if people are offended? That's what you're supposed to say. I mean, I don't know if he was ready in the moment, but that is always the response. People are always offended. I'll just say, I'm fucking offended that you even said that. Are you going to apologize to me? I mean, seriously, just turn around on these people. Who gives a fuck? It doesn't matter.
Another point in the documentary, George also expresses how we white people are an extreme minority in the world, especially those of us with fair hair and eyes. This is something he has repeatedly stated in public settings. Josh seems to be threatened by this.
One of the rarest genetic makeups with blue eyes, white skin and red hair. I feel like I should carry that on, and so maybe I should find a partner who can do that.
Is that not a bit, you don't think that's a bit weird?
See, you know what, he could be 5% Jewish and he would still say this shit. I'm just saying, you know, it's at what point do you schizomax the demon shit? I'm just saying how it's weird to want your race to continue existing. Okay, Israel, I've retargeted the news toward Israel. Well, they shouldn't exist. They shouldn't exist. You said it, buddy. Bye, Israel. You're all dead. You're all dead. I agree with your logic. Bye, Israel. Now.
No. I've seen influencers who are black. They call themselves melanin goddesses. I love my black skin. Good luck to you.
No, I don't
Go
think
you.
I don't think
Yep. Get fucked. Get fucked.
Fun with them. You are coming for me. Why is that?
Yep. Absolutely.
I think it's weird to love your own genetics. I do think it's weird to be sort of into mating with someone with the same genetics in order to have offsprings who carry those genetics too.
How is that weird?
There is absolutely...
How is that weird? In what way is that weird? Even though Jews literally do that all the time, by the way. So, like, you could easily just... I mean, it's so stupid.
Absolutely nothing weird about George's sentiments here. His desire is a perfectly normal human behavior, and as he highlights himself later, a myriad of ethno-religious groups around the world practice it overtly without others questioning it. The behavior is only pathologized in white people. Curiously, in another one of Josh's documentaries, he interviews Lily Phillips, an OnlyFans star who undergoes a publicity stunt of sleeping with 100 men in a day.
I'm Lily Phillips, and today I'm getting ran through by 100 guys.
He doesn't call her weird, undermine how she makes her money, or seriously question the trend of young men and women degrading themselves en masse. He calls her a businesswoman and claims her parents are, quote, forward-thinking and open-minded.
Again, this is the thing. Like, obviously anyone can cover anything they want, but the only reason... I've heard people say this as a criticism of my channel. Oh, this is the other thing I want to tell you guys about. I actually forgot. So, fuck, this is turning into complaining about my mother's stream. So my mom wanted to help my channel. So she decided to ask ChatGPT to review my channel. The problem with AI is 80% of it is true, and then the last 20% is just complete bullshit. Whether it's hallucinations, just objectively false things, etc., etc. It literally cited Reddit, by the way. Like, as part of the review for me, I think it cited Reddit for evidence that I'm racist, sexist, blah, 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 which is true, whatever. That part's true. But it also cited... It cited a YouTube video as evidence that I didn't click the link. I'm assuming it was maybe dead domain, one of dead domains or something. But there was a YouTube video that was evidence that I have factual inaccuracies in my reviews or something, which I do have factual inaccuracies in my reviews. I'm not even denying that either. But the AI is saying, because I sometimes get things wrong, its final review score for me as a game reviewer was a 4 out of 10. And its reason for that is that I'm not objective enough. I swear, I was about to literally just start typing my mom's computer, this stupid ass bot. How the fuck is an opinion on an art form objective, you stupid motherfucker? Was EFAP part of its training data? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, if I say, like, I mean, seriously, this is so stupid. But you know what's funny though? What was kind of like the kicker? I actually did laugh at this part. I wasn't actually that mad. It also rated me as a YouTube personality and gave me a 7 out of 10. So I'm a 4 out of 10 game reviewer, 7 out of 10 personality. Yeah. I won't yap on about this too long, but she asked us some follow-up questions about how to like improve my videos in the algorithm, and it just wrote a bunch of information. Like, some of it was just objectively wrong. Like, my mom didn't know how to phrase it, so she asked, like, how can Synthetic Man force his videos through the algorithm? And the AI's like, there is no way to push a video, you know, to guaranteed push a video into the algorithm. That's false. That's fucking false. There's a reason these MCNs exist. What do you think multi-channel networks do? That is literally their function, to push videos in the algorithm. Night Media absolutely pushes all of its fucking talent, you know, the Asmongold, Hassan, etc., etc. All those people are artificially pushed in the algorithm, period. But you know, AI is a absolute retard. So fuck you. Anyway, that did make me mad. There was some other details I forgot. I need to go get some water, but we'll keep watching this. I'll be right back. Is she aware of the demographics in your chat? Well, that was the other thing. Okay, there was one last thing. She was begging me to like shill a bunch of sponsorships, and I was like, did you not see what happened with Devin's? Nobody bought anything. Devin made like $0, other than obviously he got paid up front for like the Temu shit, or Temu, whatever. But for the G Fuel, he made like 50 cents. I ain't even lying. There's like one person who bought G Fuel. At what, like, the damage to your reputation is more than like the potential money you could make at a certain point. So yeah. Now, what if you asked Chat GPT on how to be a better parent and plugged in your experiences in front of her? Then I'd get kicked out of the house, and I can't afford that right now. All right, I'm gonna go get some water. I'll be right back. Yeah, everyone hated the Raid Shadow Legends ad, but part of that was just salty Halo fans because of, you know, in context, I'm shitting on Halo, but I'm shilling Raid Shadow Legends. But I think it's pretty obvious that you're just doing it for the money. But I get why people are mad. Did I see Capcom's Dragon's Dogma 2 live stream? Did they actually did one where they just played Dragon's Dogma 2? No. What'd they show off?
For supporting her.
Your family and your parents are proud of you and what you've achieved. Your parents must be very sort of forward-thinking and open-minded, which is great, because I think...
To be fair, Josh does eventually express some concern over the safety of Lily's stunt, but again, he doesn't seem to fundamentally question her lifestyle. His concern is that she isn't properly vetting the men, that one of them might be a criminal. He also doesn't really try to talk her out of it, and strangely, right before she starts her stunt, he tells her to, quote, kill it, and to, quote, drink lots of fluids. The whole affair was rather bizarre. Now, that's obvious and goes without saying, but what I'm getting at is that while people tried to act as if it were totally acceptable behavior, all the faces of all the participants, Lily's family members, and even her own assistants were censored. On some level, everyone involved knew that the behavior signified moral bankruptcy. But returning to the topic...
Yeah, I mean, like, you say this guy who just wants to continue his race is a weirdo, but the bitch sleeping with 100 men, that's completely normal. I mean... Again, I get the audience is supposed to be women who've already watched all their shows and need something else to watch to affirm their beliefs and all that, but it's still just so fucking... I don't need to go on my repeal the 19th rant for the millionth time, but genuinely, I don't know how you could be convinced that, you know, people who act like that should have the responsibility of hypothetically determining the future of the world, but I guess in reality, voting doesn't make a difference anymore. But you could extrapolate the 19th to apply to other rights, of course, is the implied part. That's the quiet part.
At hand, that is, George Gilbert's desire to have children with red hair and blue eyes, Josh subsequently accuses him of flirting with eugenics.
Are you saying these things because you genuinely mean them, or are you trying to be on the edge and be entertaining? Because what you're saying borders very close to eugenics.
Okay, this fucking retarded half-Jew has no idea what that word means, obviously. Or, you know, even if he does, he's doing his slimy words. Insert demon quote from Freerin now. Just demon maxing.
No, I'm genuinely interested in preserving it.
George seems a little baffled by the implication, and it is rather peculiar because George never mentioned eugenics or ever suggested that this was part of his ideological outlook. Josh, like so many others today, probably sees anyone who wants to preserve their white racial characteristics as being on the verge of wanting to genocide everyone else. He tries to associate George's statements with the but even if we all agree about the traditional narrative of those events, George has repeatedly denounced him, and more importantly, George's people had nothing to do with that event, did they? His people fought against the Nazis, and the thanks they're getting today appears to be a perpetual deconstruction of their identity and the reduction of themselves to a minority in their homeland. In a promotional video for the documentary on X, the topic of who is and isn't ethnically English comes up.
If all the ethnically English people were to leave, then England as a country and as a culture would change.
What do you class as someone as ethnically English?
Well, somebody whose family tree originates from Britain or England.
How far back does that have to go?
How long's a piece of string? From my mum's side, this is maternally, they reckon we descend from the French Huguenots, who were a Protestant collective who were ostracised from mainland Europe because they were Protestant.
So not originally English?
No, as far as I know, it is way back. But,
yeah, it's definitely the same thing as African and Arab people coming to the country. Definitely the same thing. Oh, you gotcha him, Redditor. You gotcha him, Redditor. Definitely the same. I mean, my mother's side was originally from Spain. I don't remember how many generations back, or at least, was it my Nona's side or no? I think it was Nona's side is from Spain. So I guess I'm not Italian. Well, I am only half Italian anyway, but you get the point, right? So they're not Italian because previous generations were from Spain. And that's the same as Africans and murdering. that makes sense to me. Makes sense, Redditor. You got me.
This was another obnoxious attempt to undermine George's common sense views. Many of the replies on the social media post, however, unfortunately seem to agree with Josh that English isn't an ethnicity because
people keep saying half Italian, half Jewish. Well, my dad is not even like whatever the opposite of Jewish is what my dad is. Trust me. Trust me. My dad is just, again, like the, I don't know, Celtic ancestry, American brute, I guess. I don't even know really what archetype to put him in. He really is just an American, though. It's like true and true, but you get what I mean. He doesn't have a single like Jewish behavior in his body, but it's much more the Italian side that acts that way. That's where Devin gets his behaviors from, is definitely the Italian side.
it was formed from smaller distinct groups. Basically, that there is no such thing as English because of the Norman invasion or because of limited mixing with Celts, etc. The reality is that there is not a single ethnicity on the planet that was not formed by two or more previous ethnicities. Thus, is Josh arguing that ethnicity doesn't exist? That it's an entirely illegitimate concept? I don't think so. I don't believe Josh and others would claim, for example, that the Maori or the Sikhs aren't ethnicities. I don't think, for example, that if Josh encountered a Khoisan activist in South Africa, that he'd undermine his ethnic identity if the individual in question had some limited amount of Zulu or even white ancestry. Josh reveals in the documentary that he's half Jewish, so let's deconstruct that identity. There are three main Jewish ethnicities: the Sephardim, the Mizraim, and the Ashkenazim. Not one of these groups has a pure lineage that traces back to the Levant. The Ashkenazim, for example, underwent an ethnogenesis circa 900 AD when Levantine men moved to northern Italy and took
moved to Italy. I was just saying.
Local European wives. 100 or so years later, they became rather insular again and remained endogamous until about the mid-20th century. This is all well attested to in modern genetic studies, but do Jews accept this as grounds for the deconstruction of their identities or their claims on the Levant? Does Josh go around interviewing rabbis who think their lineage traces to King David?
Listen, I'm just saying, like, as far as both my grandparents know or knew, because my no has been dead, but as far as they knew, they weren't Jewish, but that doesn't mean that they don't have any Jewish ancestry. I'm just saying, I'm like 99.9% sure that none of that behavior comes from my dad's side. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Does he no longer consider himself half of something that doesn't really exist? Now, one can argue that populations have always undergone change throughout history. This is basically how David
you and Thomas is like that Sunshine Road, Dark Road meme, since your genetics originally come from Spain. Yeah. Thomas. Listen, Thomas, deep down, I need to stream with Thomas again. It's been way too long, but I think it's just because, like, I don't know, about half the year he's a wine slave and has no freedom or rights. And it's just one of those times a year. But man, I don't know. He might be brown as hell, but he sure has he sure has the Aryan spirit. I don't know. This is something. Thomas is legitimately like the perfect idea of what I think chat is truly.
David Reich ends his book, Who We Are and How We Got Here. Quote, by demonstrating that the genetic fault lines in West Eurasia between 10,000 and 4,000 years ago were entirely different from today's, the ancient DNA revolution has shown that today's classifications do not reflect fundamental, pure units of biology. Instead, today's divisions are recent phenomena, with their origin in repeating mixtures and migrations. The findings of the ancient DNA revolution suggest that the mixtures will continue. Mixture is fundamental to who we are, and we need to embrace it, not deny that it occurred, unquote. This increasingly seems to be a fairly ubiquitous attitude, as one commenter who replied to Josh's documentary stated, quote, "Populations change over time, specifically through migration. Do you think Egyptians today look like the ones who built the pyramids? Don't be silly. In 1,000+ years, an Englishman will have a completely different genetic makeup from today," unquote. The problem here is that such changes in population destroy old ethnicities and create new ones. That's kind of the entire point of these deconstructionist narratives.
Turns out British...
Well, that's the thing they always say is a conspiracy theory, but then they just proudly state that they're replacing you. Again, that's why, you know, I mean, I'm sure we all enjoy videos like this, but there's no point in intellectually deconstructing the left anymore, I think. I'd rather just be an extreme edgelord and insult these people, because that's what they deserve. Because I can't do actions or I'll be in prison. So the best I can do is let out my rage by mocking these people. So, you know, like, I don't know. It's just... that's always my approach with this kind of stuff. It's not so much with American Krogan, but more like people who still try to pretend to have some kind of intellectual superiority. That's an issue you'll have if you still watch Sargon. Like, as much as Sargon has slowly shifted over more right wing, he still has this belief that we're on some kind of equal playing ground and we have to play to their rules. When it's just like, no, these people do not deserve to be respected. You should not treat them as if they're the same as us. They're not. The people are intellectually compromised completely. There's no point in debating the left. They openly want to cause the extinction of white people. They just cannot state those words together because they know it's still seen as wrong by normal. And that's all they care about, is the optics to normal, that they can sway people to their side. Like, that's just all this is. Like, they are a suicidal, they're a fucking death cult. As I hate that, you know, I'm basically stealing from the what cringe thing they call themselves, the intellectual dark web or whatever, the fucking like Elon Musk and friends type people. But it is a death cult. The left is absolutely a death cult. They were accurate. They're a fucking bunch of champagne socialists, white guilt fucks. Of course, the Jews are coming up with the ideas, and then all the golem minorities who want to, you know, even if they don't maliciously want to replace whites, they want the best for themselves and have no empathy for white people. So why the hell would you engage with that kind of force, you know, with any amount of like honesty or fairness? There's nothing fair about genocide at all. Like, inherently, there's nothing fair about genocide. So fuck that shit. Are you kidding? No, it's ridiculous. Yes, but do white people admit that they cause the erasure of other ethnicities like in America? No, no one wants to admit that either. The problem is everyone wants to be a saint. I don't care about any past crimes because I didn't do them, okay? It's not my fault. And the Native Americans had it coming, okay? That too. Just justify it. That's all you gotta do. Just justify it. Shut up, no profile pic.
White people in London are the minority, and the majority? Pakistan,
India,
France, Senegal. People from all races and...
Did you like how France was a black woman? I love how at the, you know, people pretend like, dude, this was his view of Paris. How racist. It's like, it's literally true, though. He was 100% correct.
Pakistan, India,
France. Is this a native French woman I'm seeing right here? Like, literally said this. This is what said.
Senegal. People from all races and colors.
There's some debate over the genetic continuity of the Egyptians following the Bedouin Arab conquest of North Africa, but there has been an undeniable change in identity and culture. No one today in Egypt.
There are a lot of black French people. Okay, there's a lot of Muslim British people then, by that same logic. What are you talking about? There are always Muslims. What do you mean? Always Arabic. England was always Arabic. And Indian. I guess the Indians were there a little longer.
Egyptian anymore or practices the old religions. Thus, it would be much more accurate to say here that in 1,000 years, there simply won't be any more Englishmen. Of course, all of this ignores the much more important concern, namely that the consent and the will of the English people to undergo such a process is being ignored and discarded. This too is ironic because supposedly the quote-unquote British values claimed as the foundation of modern post-war British identity very much involve the concept of consent, which mass migration clearly violates. I disagree with David Reich and others who share his views. We do not need to embrace any of this, arguing that because population change took place in the past that we are now forced to accept it in the present is a lot like saying a woman must accept rape today because maybe her ancestors were raped in the past. Ernest Renault, who is considered by
And the thing is that it will never be tackled that head on at all. This is why I'm saying, like, there's no point in intellectual debate on that level, because how it's portrayed is it was men who were raped. As long as you just change the target from, oh, it was a Muslim for the 10 billionth time or African who did it. No, it was a man. So women hate men. They don't hate browns. They hate men, right? So, again, like, it's kind of pointless to address it when the other side doesn't even see it that way to begin with.
Many to be the father of civic nationalism, argued in his work, What is a Nation, what he felt were the requisites for a national identity. He said that there must be a shared possession of a rich legacy of memories, including both glories and shared suffering. The forgetting of past historical divisions is paramount to the formation of a national identity, and there must be, in the present, a current agreement, a current consent and desire to live together, and the will to uphold the value of such a common heritage. Now, does any of this describe the relationship between the indigenous
And look, it's North FC in the flesh. He's right there.
people of the British Isles and the vast majority of recent arrivals? If anything, the recent arrivals from the Caribbean, Africa, India, and other lands formerly occupied by the British Empire have repeatedly demonstrated that they have indeed not forgotten past grievances and do not feel a sense of past glory or shared suffering with the locals.
All of us here of Caribbean descent are in this country and have this relationship in this country because our descendants were removed from Africa, taken across the Atlantic, and put in the Caribbean.
What Renault stated, however, does seem to accurately describe the relationships between the Welsh, English, and Scottish, and what they have undergone through a long historical process that was, relatively speaking, organic. Yes, there was conflict, yes, there was brutality, but they have arrived at the end of that process, and introducing massive numbers of substantially more foreign peoples at this point upsets that hard-won and delicate unity. It destroys very unique traditions and relations cultivated over thousands of years in mere decades.
There you go. Yeah. Again, women, they vote. This is what they vote for. The thing is, even if you vote for the other team, they're not even going to get rid of them. I mean, that's happening here, too. I mean, like, the fucking right wants to flood the U.S. with Indians. At least the establishment, conservatives, Republicans. Republicans want India to replace us. Democrats want Mexico to replace us. You know, what's the other option? There's only one other option. You're surprised I'm not subbed to American Krogan? Well, I mean, he only started posting again like a couple months ago. Kill the void duck. Kill the void duck. Yes. Bad seed. You killed a lot of non-aggressive creatures. All right. That's Kino. The game's Kino. It's confirmed.